Hey guys, it's John Crowley from UTV Guide. Fresh off a trip on the Rubicon for UTV Con'Quest, and I wanted to go over a few things on how to prep and how to pack. So we brought our 2024 RZR XP, and we've done a few things to this that I want to kind of highlight because they're what you really need to focus in on for a trip on the Rubicon for something where you're going to camp or, you know, coming in on UTV Con'Quest. First thing I would recommend is a skid plate. I would not use aluminum. I prefer UHMW. We've got a setup here from factory UTV, and this is UHMW 3/8 thick. You can also get it 1/2 inch thick. We've also got their rock sliders, which is great for the Rubicon because you hit rocks a lot on this rocker panel, so that will help protect that. You also pivot around rocks sometimes, and having this fold up like this will allow you to pivot on this piece of UHMW instead of your plastic. One other option I like from factory UTV is in the back, adding a piece of aluminum on top of the skid plate from factory UTV, and that protects the engine and transmission a little bit more, so just a bit more protection there. Next thing you're going to want to look at is replacing your radius rods, especially your lower radius rod. Factory ones are typically straight, especially on XP 1000s. This RZR XP, they were straight. Some of the different models have high clearance ones stock, so that's nice. You might not have to change it, but if you've got a little spindly radius rod there, they bend when you look at a rock. So I would at a minimum get a heavier duty one like this from HZR, but these are also nice because it's a high clearance. It gives you more clearance for rolling rocks through this area here without impacting the radius rod and bending them. Next item is your tie rods. Up front, connected to your steering rack and your outer knuckle, is the tie rod. Factory room ones are a little weak typically for the type of abuse you're going to see on the Rubicon. So these here are from Shock Therapy, and they are a billet aluminum piece that's much stronger than stock, and they don't have any bends in them anywhere, and they can take the abuse. It's also nice if you can, you've got a stock set somewhere and you want to bring a stock set, find somebody else that has an extra set of stock ones you could bring with you. And then that's just another thing, because if you can't steer on the Rubicon, you're kind of screwed. Up front, it's not required, but if you haven't rock crawled much, you're more likely to take a rock in a spot here on these front arms. Stock arms aren't really made to take a hit, and they typically aren't high clearance. So these are from HZR. This is their Sportline suspension, and they are high clearance a bit over stock, so it gives you more clearance here for going over rocks, and they are able to take a hit better than the stock arms. Bigger tires are definitely nice on the Rubicon, because every inch you go in size is going to give you a 1/2 inch of ground clearance. So these are 35s, which is a fairly good size tire. That definitely increases your ground clearance, and that's what it's all about on the Rubicon, clearing those big rocks so you don't get hung up on your belly. A 35 is a fairly good size, especially for a RZR XP. 32, 33 is also nice. If you're down with a stock tire around 30 inches and it actually measures 29, you're going to be dragging your belly a whole lot. So increasing your tire size is a nice thing to do to add ground clearance. Clutching is something you want to check on for sure. If you have an older machine with a lot of miles on it, definitely service your clutch. We had a guy in there that had a XP 1000, several years old. His primary was messed up. He actually had another primary, but it ate his belt up pretty bad in the back. So you want to bring a spare belt. You want to service your clutch ahead of time and make sure it is all working properly before you get to the Rubicon. And the other thing is, if you increase tire size so much to where your clutch isn't appropriately set up, you might want to look at a clutch kit that's going to help with the bigger meats on there. Another piece that's really key for a group trip is radio communications. So I've got rugged radios. Their M1 radio here, and also their intercom, so I can talk to my passenger. This is a remote head unit, so this is the setup for the intercom, but that allows me and my passenger to talk without yelling, and also we can talk to everybody else on the trail. So that is a key piece. You can communicate if there's somebody that has a problem, if you've got a problem, or there's traffic coming your way, all that kind of stuff. Super nice to have communications with the whole group. One other thing I like, the Rubicon is in California. Helmets are mandatory. We're going pretty slow on the Rubicon. The trail's pretty dusty. I like having a full face helmet with a dust skirt on it with helmet air. So I've got this set up from Rugged Radios. I've got two different plumbed air for driver, passenger. Goes right into your helmet and is throwing air over you. So it's pretty hot and you don't have any airflow, so this is key. I almost wish I could get even more air in that thing. put both of them on there if I could, because it's that hot and you're moving that slow. But that makes it so you're not just breathing in dust from everybody else. You've got positive pressure inside your helmet blowing everything out, so none of the dust comes in there. It makes that real nice. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is packing. You really don't need a whole lot on UTV Con'Quest. They provide all your food, and there's a bar in Rubicon Springs, so you don't need to bring a whole bunch of beverages in with you. You can go to the bar there. The Rotary Club out of Georgetown does a bar, so everything's going to charity. So that's nice. What I have set up on my RZR XP here is I've got these factory boxes that are just they're lock and ride setup that just drop into here. And these are nice because they keep everything clean that's inside it, and it compartmentalizes everything. So in this one, I was able to put my tent, my sleeping bag, some tools, my belt changing stuff, a tire plug kit, all of that is in here. Back here, I put my clothes, bathing suit, flip-flops, towel, all of that, and really kept it light and nimble. Really didn't bring much. I had a couple snacks and a really small ice chest with me. So you don't want to put a spare tire and then ice chest way up on top of that. If you're going to bring heavy things, you want them as low as possible. Do not put anything heavy up on your roof, because then you're just swaying back and forth, and that really sucks. So if you put anything on your roof, make sure it's light. Sleeping bags, pads, that kind of stuff. Nothing heavy at all. So speaking of loading your car down, one of the things I see all the time on the Rubicon, when you've got a two-person vehicle with two people in there and all their gear, is they're loaded down so much they don't have any ground clearance anymore. The stock springs they're running just can't handle it. So one of the things you want to do is get your vehicle loaded with everything you're going to bring, including the people, and measure your ride height. If it isn't where it's supposed to be, add some preload on your springs. Chances are, if you've got stock springs, they're not going to be able to handle that amount of weight, and you're going to be way down on the ground and dragging your belly everywhere, and that's no fun at all. So a set of aftermarket springs will definitely help with that situation. I've got shock therapy springs on this car, and that also changes it to a dual rate setup. So it's a more plush ride just in the beginning amount of travel, and then it crosses over and gives you a heavier load. But these springs are also a higher quality, give you better ability to set your ride height for how your vehicle is set up, and will keep your ride height up where it needs to be. So again, check your ride height with the car fully loaded, with the amount of weight, gear, fuel, people, everything in the car. Check your ride height and see where it's at before you get to the Rubicon. The nice thing about UTV Con'Quest is they bring in the crew from Alpine Designs. They're mechanics, and they've got know-how and tools to fix a lot of things out there. The hard part is they don't have spare parts for everything. So if I was going to set up my car to be able to do that and have some spare parts, tie rods would be on my list of spare parts to bring. That'd be super nice if you had a left and a right that were the same. Most likely you would bring both of those. Axles are not a bad idea, especially if you just have to bring two, one front and one rear. I wouldn't want to have to bring 4 axles. That's a lot of weight. Other than that, those are kind of the two big ones. I did talk about the radius rods in the back. If you've upgraded them, that isn't as big of a deal. But if you haven't upgraded them, I would absolutely bring a spare. I would highly recommend just going ahead and swapping them out before doing that, though.